It's a beautiful April day and I'm suited up for the first time this year. Heading out to the hives. I've got a couple of feeder boards and some hive top rapid feeders with me. And I'm just about out to the apiary. I see a lot of bees flying. Let's take a look. So here we are. We've got one hive flying, two, lots of activity. I see a lot of pollen coming in there. Just what I like to see, that's awesome. Number three, same thing, lots of pollen too. See my girls bringing in pollen. Number four, oh, more pollen, looking good there. Let's shoot over to the other side. Got 4 hives on each side of the apiary. Let's take a look at the other 4. This one's looking pretty good. Not quite as many bees yet, but might still be warming up, or just maybe a smaller colony at this point. Some pollen coming in for sure. This hive stand needs a little, this bottom board needs a little work. We'll get that cleaned up this year. Pollen coming in here, looking good. 2 more to go. Let's take a look. These are actually the 2 hives I'm going to be working today. Wow, lots of pollen. Not sure what's going on there. There's a lot of pollen on the little porch there on the front of the bottom board. I suspect what's happened is this entrance reducer is causing problems for the bees. It's slowing them down and it's probably scraping the pollen right off of them as they come in. So we'll have to do something about that. And that's why we're out here. Look at all the pollen though. Holy cow, there's a lot of pollen. That is really cool. And we'll take a look at the last one here. Hive number 8. And everything from the outside at least is looking good. All right, let's get in these hives and see what's going on. So these are the 2 hives I'll be working today. First step was to remove the ratchet straps from the hives. They were strapped shut for the winter. I did that just recently. It's been nice and calm the past couple days, so you know, with the winds not being a factor, I was able to get those straps off and feel pretty comfortable about it. I'll go ahead and pull the bricks off, the outer covers here, and then I'll pull these white boxes off. These are my quilt boxes, which are used to absorb moisture during the winter. So I'll pull these off as well. And then we'll get down into the feeder shims here. These are the feeder shims, and we'll see how much pollen and how much sugar is left on those shims. I left them pretty full in the fall, and we'll see how much they've gone through over the winter. I'm gonna go ahead and remove all these bricks from the outer covers here, just to get that done. I'll just set them on the stand here as I go. Just pull all the stones and bricks off. I use these to weight down the hive. That's probably pretty obvious. Just to keep things together in the winter time when it's nice and windy out here. So we'll get those all off of both of the hives here. All right, so when we pop this outer cover here, we'll expose the wood chips that are in the quilt box. Now I can't pull this quilt box off yet because that'll expose the feeder shim and there's going to be a bunch of bees there, and I don't have my smoker lit. But we can go ahead and get these covers off as a start. This one's a little sticky, but let's go ahead and pop it off. And just lots of wood chips. They look nice and dry, as I would expect. All right, let's get the smoker lit and let's get inside these hives. Just burning some burlap here. Just gonna use my torch to get that going. Let it burn for a minute. Get it nice and hot. Get some smoke going. Push that down in there. And once it's burning good, I'll just go ahead and close her up. And we should have some smoke. I'm gonna give both the hives just a little puff of smoke up in the front here, just to get the guard bees out of the way. All right, I'm just gonna go ahead and put my glove back on here. We're gonna go ahead and pick up this quilt box and see what's on the inside. And there's some sugar, and I see some pollen, and a good cluster of bees. They built a little bit of comb on the bottom of the quilt box. Now this quilt box is coming off, so I'm just gonna go ahead and bump it down onto the hive just to get these bees off. What you see there, you just saw a bunch of wood chips go flying. That's fine, they're just gonna lay in the field. And the bees shook right off, look at that. There's not a single bee left on here. Worked out pretty well. And I'm just gonna go ahead and dump this box here. I can just, these wood chips can just blow through the field, not a problem. Just kick them around a little bit. There we go, back to the hive. Let's take a look inside. Now again, this is the feeder shim. Got a few wood chips in here. There's a good bit of sugar left. So we're gonna go ahead and pull this out. We don't need this in here. So we're gonna do it nice and gentle. Go ahead and shake some of the bees off. And I'm gonna walk this over to my other stand here, where I'm kind of just keeping all my stuff for the time being. Come back to the hives. A little bit of sugar, and we've got some pollen. Substitute. I'm gonna go ahead and just pull this box off, but I gotta stop recording to do that. So what's it look like inside with the feeder in there? Well, let's take a look. There's the feeder, and it's sitting on top of an inner cover that has a hole in it just large enough for the bees to get in there. And you can see the bees are all up and feeding. They sure didn't take them long to find it. Just a few minutes later and it's full. The yellow bowl is full of syrup. The bees can come up through the center. They can crawl around on the outside of the little clear plastic ring there, and they can drink. So it's a couple hours later and I'm out here back at the hive. I went ahead and took the entrance reducer off the hive that had the pollen problem. Let's take a quick look. So this is the hive that had all the pollen that was getting scraped off the girls as they came in. I took the entrance reducer right off the hive, and you can see they've cleaned up a lot of the pollen that was sitting on the porch here. If we look down on the ground though, they did lose quite a bit. It's sitting right down there. I will replace the entrance reducer and reorient it, maybe from the opposite, the two corners over here. Before it was screwed in just in the center, and I think it was probably just a little bit too low. So now that we're getting the hive set up for spring and summer, we'll go ahead and get that fixed up. These are the two hives I was working earlier, and you can see that I replaced the quilt boxes with a feeder shim, which has the rapid feeder on it, and also another box which is empty that just contains the feeder. And because there were a couple bees in there in the boxes, I left a little crack so they can escape, just as bee escapes. Now these boxes, you might notice, they do look quite a bit different than the colored painted boxes below, and that's because I built them out of barn wood, basically just old scrap barn wood that I had laying around. And they're covered with an exterior polyurethane. And I built them last year, so they've had a pretty good, almost a year to off gas at this point, and they don't really smell or anything. But they did sure come out pretty. I'm not much of a carpenter or a woodworker, but it was kind of a fun project and just a way to use some old scrap wood. Works pretty well for this purpose. So these will be the last two hives that I need to take care of. Get the quilt boxes off and get some feeder shims on there. That's on my agenda for tomorrow. I'm out of time for today. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you guys next time.